stop it?
You just press that big middle button again.
Okay.
Or you come and run and get me. Or you turn it off. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Have fun.
What's going on? Huh? What's going on? Oh, I have to record at least one session. Oh, okay. It's best to do it with a weekly student. So I pitch you.
I was like running here because everybody told me you could not be late or else it does not look good for weekly sessions.
That's okay. I'm actually really cold right now. And then I just click one part where I think I did really bad or I think I did awesome.
Oh, for tutoring and all that?
Yeah. And then I put that and you review it in a class.
Oh, okay. So today I'm going over, I have a speech tomorrow.
Okay.
And I already have it all done and all that kind of stuff, but my problem is it's supposed to be no longer than 5 minutes and 30 seconds, but it's like a little over. So I was wondering, 30 seconds to a minute. So I was wondering if like we can check the parts that I've been repetitive and kind of just break it down a little bit. Like this is my extensive outline. I have a shorter one, but I think in my third point, there's for sure a way to break it down more.
Okay,
and the other
this
points.
one right here.
Right. And I'm sure the other points as well, but I'm just having trouble doing that.
Is this a speech about like natural resources? Is that this one?
Yeah.
Oh. Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you tutoring?
Yeah, it's okay. So here are you like going back to some of the old information?
Yeah, so my third point, I'm talking about all these three examples and how they are unlawful and all that kind of stuff. And then my conclusion, I just have to restate them again. So I'm trying not to be repetitive, and I'm kind of freaking out that they're not
So then
breaking
you
down.
think that the third point to the conclusion is repetitive?
Yes, unless you see otherwise, there's others to break down, but I'm just trying to break it down as much as I can.
I think I probably need to the other points to know if you're like being repetitive
Okay.
within, like if this here is something that you already
And
stated.
it may not even be repetitive. My teacher looked it all over and said it was great, but my only issue is that it's over time. So, whatever.
Do you think there's parts that you can cut out if your teacher said that it was?
And I've cut a lot out, so that's why I was going to see if you thought anything else could be cut out.
Okay.
And this is the first page.
Okay. that I had a question about was just this part. Did you need to?
Yeah, we're just to restate what we talked about. That's why it's kind of weird because
Because you just talked about all three of them.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing that makes it weird. But other than that, you're not repetitive.
Right, so it's a good speech, but it's just overtime, and I'm talking really fast in it.
Really?
When I was doing it, like I said,
and did you have criteria for how many points that you had to have for each part?
How many points? Yeah, this is the exact outline. She gave us this outline, like all these things in bold is what I'm supposed to do.
And then...
Right.
And you don't have, like, more sub-points than you need or anything like that?
Like, is there any way I can make 2 sentences into 1 sentence?
Is there any information that you think that you might not need?
I think it's good to have all of this, but like I said, I've done it, so if you see anything that's not necessary or that I could just break down into 2 sentences.
Okay.
Do you want a pen or something?
Yeah. Let's try to do this.
Oh, maybe I don't have a pen. I'm sorry.
I could get that.
I did.
Actually, I'll just here. So, I think your third point doesn't have any information that you need to take out because all you're doing is stating what the article is about and then relating it to the law. Or like kind of like what can be done about it.
Right.
So
like for this one, do I need these examples? Do I need that 170-acre property? 3 different parts is 170-acre property. Is it good to make sure it looks like I'm credible and I know the numbers?
You should know. You should have numbers.
Okay. I have this quote there, which is also good. Pennsylvania, should I lead out some of the people I was talking about here? The unemployed pregnant woman.
You don't talk about this in here, correct?
I talk about the 18 to 21-year-olds who are not in school. In this point here, on a positive note, this program provides motivation.
Yeah, but you don't talk about it in your third point, correct? Because you talk about Guy Harrington.
And then I talk about
the Fourth Amendment.
Here, the welfare program.
So is that...
That's this program, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't do it in order of...
Oh yeah, I should just switch that.
Okay. Then you can take out... Well, no. I mean, because you need all of... I feel like everything that you listed is important unless you find anything that is not related to... related to your topic in any way, but it is all, these are all things that are going to be cut by, they're all part of the welfare program, correct? So then I would leave it. Because you're not listening too much, it's all the programs, right?
There's like actually more programs, I just
pick some of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can cut the ones that you feel that aren't related, but or that you feel aren't too important.
I feel it.
But I think you can leave them all. Do you think you need this?
I was just trying to fill up the point. I think it just restates the obvious. There's a lot of people will be affected by it.
Yeah.
Like, do I need this part? While their application is pending, that is if they work currently 20 hours or less.
You can take it out.
Yeah, take that out.
Yeah. Do you think you need? You have to have.
Subpoint 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So just take out this little last sentence.
Yeah.
At least that cuts off a few seconds. So that is if they currently work 20 hours or less.
Move it here.
However, this new law is extremely unfair because it provides this great service to those people in need. Yeah, how can I cut that sentence down?
How about and then they took the program away from them? Wait. So the important points of this sentence is that it's unfair because the people need the service and now it's going away. Correct?
Yes. So I can say on a positive note, this program provides motivation for people who are unemployed because it requires them to apply for at least 3 jobs per week while their application is pending. This new law is extremely, instead of saying this new law is about to take place, this new law is extremely unfair because it provides this great service that's about to be taken away from them.
Yeah, you can do that. I don't know how much this will cut down, but hopefully it does.
Because it provides this great service that is about to be taken away from them.
Mm-hmm.
How about subpoint 2? This plan of action.
And so what did you think that your important point was for this?
It reduces the amount of money that the government has to pay to its citizens and how it's going to happen very quick and leave little time for people to find where the next source of income is going to be.
Do you think the second part is just as important as the first?
The problem is I think they're all important.
It would be reasonable if the government would find affected citizens with a touch.
Unless I read it to you and you tell me if I'm being like if I sound like something that shouldn't be needed or something.
Well, when I read it, it doesn't sound like anything that wouldn't be needed. This change is going to happen very soon. There's a little time for people, which I find. This plan of action reduces the amount of money the government has to pay out to citizens. There is very little time for people to find where the next source of income is going to be. No, you need both parts because it sounds incomplete without the first part. I would leave it.
How about the transition?
That one's fine.
I feel like in this water example I'm being repetitive.
Yeah, you can. you can add. Did you know that Georgia's they are in severe need to get more water to sustain their population growth. I feel like you can combine the first part and the first and second sentence, and then, because you just keep saying that they need water.
Okay, how do I combine that?
In each sentence you say that they need water.
Yeah, I do.
Did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? You say which will make it difficult for them to sustain their growing population. And then,
so did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? And then say, take away their in severe need.
and I feel like if they're gonna run out, they're in severe need.
So it's obvious.
So then what if you took that part out and then just moved into that they need water to sustain their population growth, their growing population.
Okay, did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? They need to get more water to sustain their growing population. They don't only want the water but are demanding it. Keep that in.
What if you combine these two sentences? Did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? I feel like if you can. Did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? Which.
Because of their growing population?
Is it because of their growing population that
I
they
don't
run
know.
out of water? Did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? I feel like this part can be shorter. Definitely shorter, but I'm trying to figure out where. And so you need to get more water to sustain the population growth. They not only want the water, but they are demanding it from Tennessee.
Did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years and are demanding
No, you were going somewhere.
Did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years and are demanding it from Tennessee?
Wait, okay, so what if you do, did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? They are currently demanding water from Tennessee to help sustain their growing population.
They are currently demanding water.
Are they currently? I don't know if they're currently.
They are. They've been.
Okay,
So
they have been.
Can I just say they are demanding?
Yeah, you can say.
Water from Tennessee to sustain their growing population.
Is it shorter?
Did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? They are demanding water from Tennessee to sustain their growing population. Do I need to say they are not only... Oh, we already said that. Then yeah, right?
Is it shorter? It is!
Okay, so did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? They are demanding water from Tennessee to sustain their growing population.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yay!
Perfect. And then can you just like cross out, just like X that A point that we did, just so I know, yeah.
Okay.
Barnini checkerboard, and I hate to state the things, the sources. That takes up so much time. He talked about how I think this part's also repetitive. I talk about this 30,000 number a lot.
Okay. Oh, because you talk about it here. And okay.
I think I could take out on sub point 2 and there would be no due compensation because I had that in sub point 2.
In sub point.
Here I said this would mean that Tennessee would lose water sources and citizens. If I just take out their
Yeah, because then wait.
Because I talk about it here. There are two options here. And maybe take out there is no win for them. Isn't that also kind of obvious?
Mm-hmm. I don't see anything else unless you saw something.
Okay, let's see. He talked about how 30,000 residents of Tennessee would become citizens of Georgia, but they would have to pay state taxes, which include a 6% income tax that Tennessee doesn't have. This would mean that Tennessee would lose water sources and citizens. Two options here. Tennessee should get something in return for their water. They are losing a chunk of their state and getting nothing in return. Did I repeat that?
Getting nothing in return. Right. Well, actually, I just realized here, you said that they don't have compensation right now, right?
Yeah.
And then this one you're saying they should have compensation.
Yeah.
But you took this one out.
Yeah.
I think they're different. Because right now you're mentioning that, here you're saying that this would mean that Tennessee would lose water and citizens and there would be no compensation for it. But then, if you bring up having compensation, you never said that they didn't have it.
So I should leave that in?
Yeah.
So, and there would be no due compensation, is what I said?
Yeah. But then, I feel like you could take it out here, because you say they're losing a chunk of their state and getting nothing in return.
Just take out that part, they are losing to nothing in return?
Because here you already mentioned that they have no compensation, and then you're repeating it again.
So take away this highlighted.
Yeah, because here you're saying, yeah. But is your sub point too short now?
No, I think that's fine. So, did you know that Georgia will run out of water in 15 years? They are demanding water from Tennessee to sustain their growing population. Chakraborty wrote an article called, on February 17th, he talks about how 30,000 residents in Tennessee would become citizens of Georgia, but they would have to pay Georgia state taxes, which include a 6% income tax that Tennessee doesn't have. This would mean that Tennessee would lose water sources and citizens, and there would be no due compensation. There are two options here. Either help each other like good neighbors, or solve this through due compensation. Tennessee should get something in return for their water. By requesting this water, Georgia will gain 30,000 residents who would go from paying 0 to 6 property tax. Therefore, Georgia would get an increase on tax revenue. Does that sound complete too?
Yeah.
And then, should I change the words here so it doesn't sound repetitive, like you said, the first, second, and third?
For
the conclusion?
I just felt like it sounded... No, I would leave it because you already have it really short and to the point.
But in my point above, I said, let's recap on 3 situations I have covered. I think back to Guy Harrington, how he was punished for doing something on his own property, even though he's permitted to do it.
And for here, we have a man who gets arrested for collecting rainwater and gets his permits taken away.
So that's fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, moving on to our next example. So Georgia was not our next example. The next example was the welfare one.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to switch these?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our next example was the welfare program. So moving on to our next example, a welfare program program that people rely on would be less available. Lastly, we touched on Georgia wants the borders realigned for their benefit. If Georgia comes up with a way to provide due compensation for Tennessee, the resources should be shared so long as favors are returned.
That was a really good summary.
And then the sub point 2 is 4. Also needs to be switched. Can you tell me if I switched these right? Let's go up a little bit. So, Guy Harrington, Fourth Amendment violation. Moving on to the next point is the welfare program. People rely on the bills available. The government is taking its money away from the program. They need to explain where the money is going, and perhaps citizens would be more understanding. Lastly, we touched on Georgia wants the borders realigned for their benefit. Georgia comes up with a way to provide due compensation for Tennessee, then resources should be shared as long as favors are returned. So I don't know what happened here.
Wait, hold on. Didn't you already say that? For Georgia? Isn't that the same thing that you just said for Georgia? Moving on to our next example, Georgia wants the borders realigned for their benefit. If Georgia comes up with a way to provide compensation for Tennessee, then their resources should be shared as long as favors are returned. Isn't that what you just talked about in here? It's almost like you summarized this whole point here.
I think that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah? But then wouldn't that be the conclusion?
Yeah.
So for your third one, you were trying to bring in new information.
Yes. Trying to say how it's unconstitutional and all that kind of stuff.
So then what new information do you want to bring in, unless you want to take out the information here? Because here you say there's two options here. Either to help each other like good neighbors or resolve this through due compensation. Let's see. Or was your new information that Georgia wanted to realign the borders?
Yeah, I guess I didn't say that.
Yeah, you didn't say that in here. Unless that's what you're going to switch.
I think I'm just stating it, but I don't know if that's smart since I'm going over time here. Lastly, we touched on Georgia wants the borders realigned for their benefit. Do I need that part if Georgia provides? But I'm kind of giving you my own 2 cents here.
What if
Georgia provides due compensation for Tennessee, then resources should be shared so long as favors are returned.
And that's what you talked about in here.
I did.
So then I feel like unless your point wasn't to summarize.
Well, I'm saying let's recap on the 3 situations I have covered.
Yeah.
And then member by transition says, if that didn't convince you about gross government overreach, let's compare this to the U.S. Constitution, or more specifically the Bill of Rights.
So then shouldn't you be comparing each point to the Bill of Rights?
I should. The first one I got.
Yeah, but the second
point, welfare program. I guess I'm giving my own opinion here. So my transition should either change or I should add those things.
But then it'll also help make your speech shorter because you're summarizing what you already talked about.
If I do what?
If you add more of your opinion or you add about the Constitution. Because then this whole part right here, if Georgia comes up with a way to provide due compensation for Tennessee, then resources should be shared as long as the favors are returned. That's this whole point right here.
Okay, so how about I just take it out of here and say, lastly, we touched on Georgia wants the borders realigned for their benefit. Did I say, yeah, okay, so how can I break down that last sentence? If Georgia comes up with a way to provide due compensation. How about I say, without due compensation, resources should not be shared?
For which one? For the one in...
Yeah. Lastly, we touched on Georgia, how Georgia wants the borders realigned for their benefit. If without due compensation, resources should not be shared.
I feel like that's simply restating the reverse of this one, but I think you could put that there. Yeah. Is that going to be your opinion? So then you're changing this section to be more about your opinion than
I
the
don't
Bill
want
of
to do that.
Rights?
No. Unless I look up the Bill of Rights right now and see how we can connect it.
I know, anyway.
Because last time I found it pretty easy.
Oh, to connect it?
Yeah. Because there's only 10, so...
I don't know how well the internet connection is in here. Oh,
yeah.
It's working. Cool.
This is the Bill of... no. Okay, is any of these religion, speech, press? No. Right to bear arms? No. Search and seizure I talk about. Rights reserved to stated people?
You should look up a little bit more about it.
Could that be with the rights reserved, the program, the welfare program, or the
It
Georgia?
might be.
The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Does that make sense to you? Google more. What is the 10th Amendment?
I like when they tell it to you in like a little sort. It means this.
Yeah. Okay. What does it mean? What does it mean for kids? The 10th Amendment was designed to keep the federal government
And isn't it like keeping the federal government from
to be limited and enumerated for listed powers? Federal government only has power over the things they are specifically given to the Constitution.
Yeah, so it's only giving them so much power over the states, so that the states can have their own government.
So can we tie that in?
I don't know. Maybe not.
They
Well,
put
because none of this has to do with the federal government. Well, welfare, maybe? I don't know.
It says they put the 10th Amendment in because They did not want the central government to become too powerful. They didn't want a government that was located far away from their homes, dictating how they lived their daily lives. They wanted as much power as possible, but retain in their local state legislature. If the government, so the government did this, the government took this away. So that means the government is
the state government or the federal government?
Let's see. Thousands still with state benefits. Pennsylvania's Department of Public Welfare under Governor Tom Corbett's new budget will eliminate the gentleman's program.
Governor.
So that's the state government.
Mm-hmm.
So are they a part of this or no?
Mm-hmm. Because this one talks about the federal government not having a lot of power, so like the states have power. And this one is just talking about states and not both.
Right, okay.
So if you mentioned federal government, if there was like a mention of federal government, then you could probably use it. So then maybe you might need to figure out a way to alter your third point, because in your transition you make it seem that like you're gonna talk about the Bill of Rights for each point.
Okay, so why don't I say in this case and given to you about the gross government overreach. Let's talk about why it's unfair. Let's like dissect why this is so unlawful or something like that.
That could work.
Does that make sense though? Let's dissect.
Well, unlawful and make it seem like it's against the law, so you might want to choose a different word. But I understand what you're trying to say. Kind of try to figure out why it's unfair. Maybe you can look up a synonym.
Why it's unjust.
That could work.
If that case didn't convince you about gross government overreach, let's dissect why it is unjust.
And that sounds weird.
Now, that does sound weird?
Yeah. Another word for unjust?
Unfair, undue, undeserved, unmerited, unwarranted, unreasonable?
Maybe you can work unjust.
Why this is so unjust?
So then you talk about the Bill of Rights, which makes sense. And then maybe for your subpoint 2, maybe you can try talking about how this is. So then if you're talking about how it's unjust, then maybe you could talk about, maybe mention like it's not fair for Tennessee, or maybe how Georgia is trying to take control of Tennessee, or take advantage of, maybe something like that.
Okay, so lastly we touched on how Georgia wants the borders realigned for their benefit. If Georgia comes up with a way to provide, so that's us repeating ourselves. Okay, lastly we touched on Georgia wants the borders realigned for their benefit.
I think I can.
Maybe I can just say if Georgians are that thirsty for water, for Tennessee water.
Why don't they just pay for it? Anyways,
Because that's me restating it in a different way if they're thirsty for the water.
so moving to our next example, Georgia wants the borders to realign for their benefit.
Then how about if Georgians are that thirsty for Tennessee water, then they should provide, or they should, I just had a word in my head, sacrifice something of theirs,
like trade water?
Right, if Georgians are thirsty for Tennessee water, then they need to make some sacrifices?
Okay.
Or does that not make sense?
What do you mean by sacrifices?
That they need to give up something as well.
So like trade.
But I guess that's through compensation, so that could be a shorter way of saying it.
Well, compensation you usually think of money. Well, you started off saying that, so you're supposed to be explaining why it's unjust.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So maybe you can talk about how is this unjust for Tennessee? Which you already talked about here. They are losing a chunk of their state and getting nothing in return. Or you can mention like what Georgia is doing is not fair. I think this part is more analysis. You have to look further into.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I kind of see. Like I see like the first part of what you're doing is explaining what's going on. Like your first point is explaining like what's going on in this point, what's going on in this point, and then your third point is kind of like saying is like analyzing it.
Like why it's gross government overreach.
Mhm.
Because my intro I said, and my third point, the last one would be examples of these types of overreach. These are types of government overreach.
Mhm.
But I don't want to change it too much because she approved the outline.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think you can? When's your speech?
Tomorrow morning.
You don't want to change too much then.
Yeah.
Okay, so then. Would it be so bad if you repeated a little bit?
I don't think if she approved it, she approved it. And this teacher's very on it. She really looks through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she has no problem telling you if one thing is wrong or not.
So then maybe it's fine if you repeat yourself.
Yeah.
About it being unjust. Maybe it's just.
Should I still keep unjust as my transition rather than
the Bill of Rights?
Yeah.
I think that you should keep unjust as your transition just because you don't talk about the Bill of Rights for each point.
Right.
And that was, like, I think of this kind of like a paragraph. And if...
Okay. So can you look through this last point then and see if that sounds good to you from the transition?
Yeah.
So that makes sense to you.
Mhm.
And then my summary for my conclusion is still okay? By restating, first we have a man who gets arrested all over again.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's not, you're not going into detail. You're just reminding the audience what you talked about.
Right.
Do you have visual aid?
So my visual aid I was thinking about, it could be something like she wore this hat as visual aid. She gave us she did a Thomas Jefferson and wore some red, white, and blue hat. I was thinking maybe giving the audience something and be like, never mind, it's mine. Like, you know how I don't know what I could do to tease them, and I have to be able to explain the visual aid in my speech and still be at 5 minutes 30 seconds.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So, I was like, oh, just give them somebody an envelope, but I wanted to do it something where everybody could feel like, oh, that was mine. I mean, I could do it as simple as candy,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that you pass out candy, but then tell them that they can't eat it until the end of your speech.
Right.
And then at the end of your speech, take it all back.
Right, I could. But then that's passing out candy takes a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say take one, pass it down, or I could just leave a jar right in front of my podium or something and say, oh, you guys will get this candy at the end.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then basically finish the speech saying neither the citizens, federal, or state government should be able to take resources without some form of due compensation. Now, something like that,
and now this candy is fine.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Did you, because you wanted, I think a good idea is giving them something and then taking it back.
Right. But what could I do that will not take up too much time?
Are they gonna, oh, I just lost my thought. Are you asking questions after? Are they having
The teacher will
questions?
ask one question.
Okay.
Yeah.
To them or to you?
To me.
Okay. I'm thinking something that you could pass out that.
No, I don't want to distract them from my speech as well.
Yeah. So no handouts. I think the candy idea was a pretty good idea. Unless you give it, did you want it to affect everybody or just one person?
I guess maybe everybody, just so it's really,
Yeah.
they can all get how this feels. It's just like the whole Guy Harrington, he had his reservoirs, he got the permit to do it, and it was taken away, what? It's frustrating when people hear it, oh, okay, but when they actually feel it, damn, that sucks.
So I was thinking then you could give it, if you only did one person, you could give one person something, and then take it back. The only other thing I could think of is candy, but that would just take so long. Unless you promise them candy at the beginning of your speech, promise them candy at the end.
But then is that me contradicting my point if I said it shouldn't be that way?
What do you mean?
If I'm doing what the government's doing.
Wasn't that what you're saying that you wanted to do? By giving them candy and then taking it away.
Right. But then am I contradicting myself because I said that's unjust? But I'm just showing them an example of how it's unjust. If
you want them to feel how I mean, the only other way would be to give them candy and then let them keep it. But then I feel like you're not getting your point across.
But I should keep it, right?
I mean, like, even then, like, maybe, like, if you... See, like, I was thinking, like, even if... Like, I don't want you to break your speech either. Like, do break in the middle and then take the candy back. And then, at the end, give it back to them again. And that would be too much.
Yeah, I'll kill it.
You'd kill your speech. You're like, wait, hold on, let me take my candy back.
See, I was there for so just to give it like an envelope. I was like, wait, an envelope? What's that gonna do?
Wait, I mean, like, unless you, like, I don't know what you'd put in the envelope. I'm trying to think of something that you could pass out that, like, that could be like, take one, pass it back. So then it wouldn't take.
I mean, you can do that for candy easily. I mean, you can't.
Like a basket.
You can't eat until after speech. Never mind, it's mine.
Let's see. How many people are in your class?
30 maybe.
Oh, that's not too bad though.
No, it's not. But I want to hear like the whole.
Yeah.
Because you know people are gonna try to
eat it anyway.
Yeah.
That's just so.
No.
I don't know.
Or I could just wear something, as easy as that. But I don't know what. Because she wore a hat. Like she would be very creative.
But then she did. But then that's
right.
Because what she did for her speech. I mean. Just like bring in water.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, I guess you could bring in water. I don't know why you would bring in water though. Like if you have to explain why you have it.
I have to explain it.
I don't know how you would explain why you have water.
Water, we all have it. Everyone's fighting over it. I don't know. Like we take these resources for granted, but that's true to our speech. So maybe water, a permit, and a cash assistance program for the class. I mean, I could have did a PowerPoint, but it's just like, I can't. This is just too much for me.
To do a PowerPoint?
Realistically, I know I'm not going to be able to focus on, because I just feel like there's so much information as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking like a really simple visual aid that won't cost any time.
Have you memorized your speech?
Familiar with it, not memorized it, which is okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Because she said that, like I was reading it, and she said that you can have like keywords to help you, like trigger.
Right, and I have keywords. Like I have like 10 sentences that I've kept for intro, my intro, which is easy.
Okay, so then maybe. Do you think you'd have time to do like a poster?
Of what? I was thinking more like something like, I know I wouldn't be good with those things because I only have 5 minutes. I feel like if I had a 3-hour speech, an hour speech would be easy to do a poster, but for me, I'm very casual when I'm up there talking, and I kind of want to just add some.
So you're very comfortable with something that you can just.
Yeah. Right.
Then I would go with the giving something and taking it back because it goes with everything.
Right.
In your entire speech.
So
and
maybe
not just one point.
Maybe I'll email her and say, what are your thoughts about, because she'll let me know.
Like, I mean, like passing out candy and then taking it back would work. Or maybe not candy, something that that would distract them from anything. So I don't know.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
I don't let it distract them.
I don't, like, because candy would be distracting.
Yeah, something that would not distract them.
Yeah. Oh, what time is it?
10:59.
Okay. I'm going to turn off this thing and then we'll discuss it later. So then.